Section 3 of Chapter 24 talks about the human and environment interacting together. And in India, like I've said since the beginning of this chapter, we have some very interesting religious and cultural traditions that are a lot different than the ones in the United States. So you'll need to bear with me for this because I know it's going to be a little bit challenging to think about these issues. So we said in Section 1 that the Ganges is one of the main rivers, and it is a sacred river in the Hindu faith. So that's right. Make sure that you write down the Hindu faith. Most of India is Hindu, and it is a religion that's been around for thousands of years. We'll talk about that next chapter. And so this is a sacred river. Now there's a city of Varanasi along the river, and it has these things called ghats along the river, and they're basically like stairs down to the river, and you can kind of see them here. Now this is a holy site. People find it very cleansing. There's also going to be some ceremonies that are done here, especially funerals. So take a minute or two to look at this picture. You can pause my video and just see what's going on in this video. It's not something that we would typically see in the United States most places. Here are a couple more images of the Ganges River at Varanasi. Again, you can see right here you have the ghats, or the steps, leading up into the river and into the city. And sometimes these are just covered with people, and other times they're covered with ceremonial funerals. And over here you can see more celebrations, and you can see the city at night. Now, as we start talking about this, we need to realize that the Ganges is the most polluted river in the world. No kidding. Well, it's full of raw sewage and industrial waste. Remember, they're modernizing, but there's no regulations. Like in America, we have Environmental Protection Agency that regulates what we can dump into rivers and streams and what we can pump out of our smokestacks. They don't really have that yet. They're kind of a new country, so they don't have that. So there's raw sewage that is not going through a treatment plant, and industrial waste going into that river. It's also common to have dead animals and human corpses thrown into the river. One of their traditions is a funeral pyre, where they basically cremate their dead bodies. And then they do it along the riverbank, and then they float that burning pile of twigs and body and incense down the river. So when that fire goes out, the body falls into the river, and then you have dead human corpses floating down the river. Appetizing, right? So anyway, yeah, I know it's hard for us to comprehend in America because it's so different. That would be very frowned upon here. There, it's quite normal, and it's part of their tradition. But because of these traditions and these practices, the river is poisoned with toxic chemicals and bacteria, and a lot of people have been getting sick, like seriously sick. And people they go bathing there, they do their laundry. I think in that first picture we saw people doing laundry. Pause me and go back and look at that. And they actually drink that water. And the sacred cattle go in that water and do all of their business and their cleaning in there too. So most of you are probably thinking, okay, well, let's just clean it up. Get some environmental people in there, get some scientists in there, and clean it up. Well, it's not that easy. Back in 1986, before most of you were born, or all of you were born, the government tried to clean it up. They attempted. They brought in scientists, environmental people from all over the world, and they were denied. So they're still working on it, but they need to convince the people to do this because it's a cultural hurdle. A lot of you jump over hurdles on track. How do you overcome a hurdle that says this river is holy and protected from pollution and damage and clean it up? It's not working. So leading scientists around the world and environmentalists need to figure out a way to work with the Hindu people to clean it up because it is a health concern. Now, I've been kind of teasing about how Bangladesh got created. Now, we need to talk about the Feni River in Bangladesh. It is kind of by the Ganges, the end of the Ganges, and it's this low marshland. You can see a picture over here. There's really not a lot of just plain land. It's going to be similar to New Orleans, which we've talked about many times this year. And you may know about that. So let's think about New Orleans and how New Orleans has all the bayou and all that kind of stuff where you need bridges to get everywhere or boats or things like that. It's going to be really similar. And this is a picture of it from space. Now, cyclones, which is another thing we learned about this chapter, like a hurricane, cause storm surges or really high waters and waves that flood these low areas. And they can wash it out. So again, think about Hurricane Katrina and all of the damage that she caused in New Orleans a few years ago. Now imagine you don't have all the modern technologies, modern plumbing, modern architecture, or warning system. Imagine how badly this could turn out. So they understand this. So they hired engineers from the Netherlands to control their floods. Because remember, we talked about this back in the past when they reclaimed land from the sea. And have worked with it. So now they've been doing that. And so the river was closed for 6 months. And they're still working on it. It's kind of a work in progress, but it's very interesting.